Renting a car in France sounds easy until a random car from the right side has priority, or until you realize how expensive can be the highways in France. In this video you will discover 7 things that surprise plenty of travelers and how to avoid the stress with them, something I've learned and keep learning on the road. So if you're planning a road through France, be ready for the tolls. There are plenty of them. To be fair with you, the French highways or autoroutes are really well maintained, but be ready to pay quite a price for them. Just to give you an example, the cost for driving from Paris to the south coast is around 70–80 euros. Just to calculate a rough price for your drive, it's about 15 cents for every kilometers that you do in these autoroutes. But how does it actually work? Well, some of these highways have a flat fee, which you're gonna pay once you arrive to the toll booth, so-called péage in French. Meanwhile, for other highways, you need to take the ticket once you enter the highways, then you give it when you exit, and they calculate for you how much you have to pay based on the number of kilometers that you have done on the highways. You can pay with cash, credit card, or if you're planning to stay a long time in France, probably it's a good idea to buy one of these télépéage, which is basically a transponder that you put in the car, so you can automatically pay the toll. Now, when you arrive to the péage, there are lanes dedicated to cash and also credit cards. There are lanes that are dedicated uniquely to credit cards, and there are lanes that are dedicated only to the télépéage, the automatic payment. Now, since 2024, they're actually removing these tolls just to make it easier for everybody, because unfortunately on the busy highways there are always queues on the tolls. And the way it works is that there is a camera that takes note of your number plate. So it's gonna be your responsibility to go on the website of the highway and pay the toll. Remember to do it before giving back the car, because otherwise the highway will charge the car rental company, which will charge back to you, but also will add a management fee, which will be actually more than the cost of the highway itself. The only way to avoid this cost is obviously not to take the highway. And personally, I suggest any way to take the secondary roads because they are so beautiful. Because at the end of the day, the holiday is not just about the destination you're gonna arrive, but also about the trip. The second thing, don't be surprised if you're gonna get a diesel car when you rent it. Diesel is actually still quite common in France. Probably not as common as a few years ago, but still you will find plenty of them in France. The main reason is that the diesel engine is typically more fuel efficient, so you're gonna spend less when you are on holiday. The only issue with that is that you have to pay double attention when you go to a petrol station, and be sure what you put in the car. Usually you will find in your fuel cap if you have a diesel or if you have petrol. And if you have diesel, you will have to fill it up with gazole. That's the French word for diesel. And another tip I can give you here, talking of petrol station, is that the petrol station you can find in the supermarket or the hypermarket, basically the supermarkets and the big shopping centers, offer better value petrol and diesel, sometimes up to 5 or 10% cheaper than you can find on the highway, for example. And it always pays off to open Google Maps and look for petrol stations in the area where you are to see the price that is offered in a petrol station around your location. It must be said that Google Maps in France is not really well updated for petrol station, at least is not as updated as you can find, for example, in the US or in Australia. Talking of the type of cars that you can get in France, I want to spend just a couple of words on where I usually book my cars, which is a comparative website. I'm gonna put the link into the video description, where they rank every single car provider from 5 to 10 stars based on the feedback of the customers like myself. It's basically an Airbnb of car providers. And what I usually do, I just filter between 8 and 10 stars, so I get only the most trusted car providers. And I book the car from that list. And I usually also add a full insurance for just 7 to 8 euros a day, which is such a great peace of mind, because some of the streets in France are quite narrow, not to talk about the parking spaces. And personally, I suggest always to book well in advance, especially if you travel in the peak season, which is typically from end of June to early September, so you can have a better choice of cars and also a better price. And typically cancellation of this website is free of charge up to 48 hours from peak up time, so if you change your plan, you can cancel and get the money back. Such a peace of mind. The third thing I want to introduce here is the Critère stickers. Well, France is really serious about air pollution, and now many cities have low emission zones, which in French translate to ZFE, which I'm not gonna say the French word, which is impossible for me. So if you're driving your car into these cities with a ZFE zone, you will need a sticker into your car. And these stickers have different colors and different numbers. They go from 1 to 6, where 1 indicates that your car pollutes the least. Now, if your rented car doesn't have this Critère ticket and you drive into a town with these zones, you will get fined. And doesn't matter if you are a tourist, this is not gonna be a good excuse. Typically, when you rent a car, they include automatically these stickers, but you better check it out yourself because you never know. And since 2025, all of the towns with a population of more than 150,000 people have this ZFE area, where only cars with stickers 1 and 2 can drive inside. Now, just to give you an idea, if a car was built after 2011, you will have most probably sticker 1 or 2. So unless you rent a very old car, you will be fine to go. But it's always worth, once again, checking it out because you don't want to get fined for that. And last thing, remember that if you don't have stickers, you can't organize it yourself. Only the owner of the car, in this case the rental company, can organize it. So make sure to have it already on the car when you pick it up. And now let's move to this priorité à droite rule, which is priority to the right side. It is pretty unique of France, I must say. Let me know in the comments if you know other countries that have this rule. Usually you find this rule applied in small villages and old towns. But how does it work? Well, if you're driving on your street, you have to give priority to the cars coming from the right side, as easy as that. Now, there are a few signs that you should keep in mind. The first one is the yellow diamond that I'm gonna put here, and that tells you that your road has priority on all of the other roads coming from the side. So you're good to go. Then if you have a bar yellow diamond, means that you lost your priority. So if it is a car coming from the right side, you have to give it the priority to the car. Also, if you come into an intersection and you have this sign here, means that you don't have a priority and you have to give it to the right side. But if you have these other signs where the central line is a bit fatter, means that your road has priority, and once again, you're good to go. It may be confusing, but you will get used to it, and you will find anyway this rule apply mostly in the old villages and town. Another thing to keep in mind is that France has a love affair for roundabouts. Honestly, they are everywhere. And to be fair here, I must say that the roundabouts work better in most of the cases than having just traffic lights one after the other. But still, if you're not used to it, remember to give priority to the car which is inside the roundabout. The roundabout usually is more of a problem if you're coming from a country driving on the left side, so it can be confusing the first couple of days. Once you get used to it, easy going. Another unique thing I find of France is that when you see sign of a road, you don't get actually the name of the road, but you get actually the name of the town where this road takes you. So it can be a little bit confusing if you're following on a map. Talking of which, I personally suggest to have a GPS system. If you use Google Maps, it works perfectly well, and I don't usually suggest to rent a car GPS system because typically they are outdated, they don't have also the traffic indication, so basically they are not worth the price, especially considering you have already Google Maps into your mobile. Another subject I put in this list is parking, which is definitely more challenging than in other countries like in the US or, for example, in Australia, where we are used to bigger parking areas. Now, if you see yellow lines, means that parking is not allowed there. Meanwhile, if you see a blue line, means that you can actually park there, but you need a parking disc where you have to put the time where you start your parking. Typically, you can park only for 1 or 2 hours, so just keep it in mind because you have to come back and pick up the car within that hour. They do check very frequently, so expect to have a fine if you don't do that. If you are visiting a big city, for example Paris, Lyon, Marseille, pre-plan your parking based on where you're gonna stay. And if accommodation doesn't include parking for you, then I personally suggest to leave a car in a garage where you will be charged by day, typically between 15 and 25 euros. Remember also that there are residents-only parking areas, and that's where you don't want to leave your car, otherwise, once again, you will get a fine most probably. Another important thing to keep in mind is that when you rent a car in France, we're gonna give it to you with the manual transmission. So if you're not used to manual transmission, always make sure to book a car with automatic transmission, because that is not gonna be the default like maybe happens in the US or in Australia. The car rental companies have a small number of actually automatic cars, so if you want to book one, do it well in advance. And also keep in mind that typically the price is a little bit more expensive than manual transmission. And I'm gonna give you also a bonus tip, tip number 8. Speed cameras are everywhere and are also smart. What does it mean? Well, it basically means that you should try to drive within the speed limit. The speed cameras can be fixed or can be mobile. You may find in Google Maps or Waze an indication of the fixed unit, but you won't find any indication for the mobile units. And there are also cases where the speed cameras check actually the average speed between 2 points. And this happens typically on the highway, so that you won't drive over the limit on the beautiful long highway. And you will find that you will be caught by these speed cameras only later on when they send the fine to the car rental company, which will charge you not only the cost of the fine, but also administration fee. It happened to me last year in Germany, where I got caught for just 3 kilometers over the speed limit. So I got a fine for 20 euros, which was not too much, but also an administration fee of 50 euros. So once again, trying to stay within the speed limit. And with this, I'm gonna close this video. If you're still with me, I guess you appreciated the video. Please put a like, because that means a lot to me. Follow the channel, because in the next weeks I will have more videos about renting cars, driving around Europe, possible itineraries, so plenty of information coming over. And for now, I'll see you next week. Bye.